for coming. Uh, Ryan, Iman, and myself are here as part of with Carrier to be able to start recruiting for our digital technology leadership program. Currently, I'm a data scientist within our Carrier intelligence team, and I'll let Ryan and Iman introduce themselves as well.
Yep. Hey, everybody. Super excited to be here. And thank you for taking your time out of your day to see what Carrie does and then explore some of our programs. But my name is Ryan Flathers. I am a product manager on our digital products and experiences team. More specifically, I work with IoT devices and embedded software to connect our physical assets to the cloud. Um, so that's my day job. And then my side gig, I'm also our DTLP functional lead for our early careers program. So super excited to have some time today to talk about the DTLP, how you guys can join, and then some next steps around that. So super excited to be here, and I'll hand over to Diamond.
Hello everyone, my name is Ayman Salhi. I am data solution architect. I joined Career 3 years ago my what I'm doing, I'm solution architect, where I will explain what we are doing with the data and how we can provide the solution which can drive the innovation for data and AI for career, which I share also with you guys some use cases in the industry in North America. Thank you.
All right. I guess, yeah, I can kind of take it from here. But today we're going to cover like who is Carrier, and then we'll spend a couple of minutes on what the DTLP, this early careers program that we offer, and how your current majors are very applicable to some of the outcomes we want to drive. So super excited to have you guys get your input on that. We'll discuss what Carrier Intelligence does, and then I believe we have a breakout rooms and we can do some open Q&A. But I'll kind of get into the spiel of who is Carrier, what is our company. So Carrier is a global leader in intelligent climate and energy solutions. We're pioneering sustainable innovations in climate technologies. We were founded by a guy named Willis Carrier, who was the inventor of modern air conditioning. And we've been shaping our industries and enhancing our lives for over a century. Grounded in our purpose, we continue to lead through relentless innovation and deep commitment to customer success, delivering cutting edge solutions that bring comfort, safety, and sustainability to life. So our big keynote slogan is for the world we share. So the inventors of modern air conditioning, what does that mean? So back in 1902, a guy named Willis Carrier invented what is today called modern air conditioning. That was over 120 years ago. Carrier's been cemented in this as the pioneers to modern air conditioning. So, we've been enabling industries through fundamentally shaping the lives every day by future efficiently cooling. Like data centers is a big new thing to powering the internet and driving our global economy. So Willis, back in 1902, the kind of the use case was that the printing press, wherever they were doing at, had too much humidity. And so what he did was invent air conditioning to take that humidity away. And therefore, the printing press, the ink and everything would come together more nicely. So that was kind of the original use case behind modern air conditioning. So kind of our purpose and our vision, the big purpose that we have is enhancing the lives we live and the world we share. So air conditioning, it's like 40% of not global emissions, but electricity and the consumption of it. Like these are big machines that consume a lot of electricity, and that puts a lot of impact on our grid, as well as CO2. So air conditioning has a lot of part to drive, emissions and reduce those and drive towards a more sustainable future. So air conditioning touches, everybody's lives, especially here in the United States. In some places you wouldn't survive without it. Up in the north, maybe you can live without it, but down in like Florida or Texas or anywhere it's really hot, air conditioning is there and really helps us have a more better life per se. And then our vision is to be that global leader in intelligent climate and energy solutions. So that's our aspiration. That's what all our goals and projects and initiatives align towards, is to be that leader in intelligent energy climate solutions. So from a brand's perspective, maybe or maybe not have heard of Carrier. you probably have interacted with our product some way or another, whether you're going to like a restaurant, maybe someone's home, your home, maybe. More than likely, you've went through a building that the air was conditioned by our equipment. So Carrier is our big brand. Toshiba, back a couple of years ago, we acquired part of their business over in Japan. And then Viessmann was our most recent acquisition. They are a company out of Germany who has a strong presence in residential HVAC. So that's kind of our three brands, but I believe we have over like 40 brands. They range from like building automations to specific products to analytics platforms. The list of brands goes on and on, but as you can see, we are a big company. And to give you a little, hopefully, if you look at that, kind of where we play today, kind of our verticals. So, it's all about meeting unique customer needs across, a range of applications. So we have a big presence in commercial real estate. That's a lot of where our commercial equipment or HVAC equipment goes. Those are like those big chillers that cool massive, massive buildings, Empire State Building, like those types of buildings. That's what these cool. Data centers is something that we're trying to get more and more into. All these companies are building these massive data centers. Well, something needs to cool these chips. So Carrier is, entering that segment to offer that solution when it comes to cooling those massive data centers. So more and more focus around there for Carrier. Education, obviously K through 12. We have a big play in, especially around their studies out there where, healthy air leads to more cognitive function, better, memory, things like that. So there is studies to that. So K through 12 is very important to us. Food and beverage, I'll talk about it later, but we also have a part of the business that is more around transit cold. So the moving of, things that need to be frozen or cooled. Healthcare, any kind of hospital, hospitality, you look at Marriott or, any of your other Homewood suites, things like that. Those big kind of players over there. Life sciences, so pharmaceutical companies, especially when it comes around transporting goods and keeping them at a temperature. So life sciences and pharmaceutical companies, we have a big part in. Residential, obviously, this is one of our bigger markets. Every home in the United States more than likely has an air conditioning unit. And, it's us, Trane, Johnson Controls, like those are the players, but that's a big part of our business is residential. And then retail, if you're ever in an airplane and you're, coming in to an airport and then you look at all these tops of these buildings, a lot of the times they are like our light commercial equipment and they sit on tops of buildings and you probably would think nothing of them, but they're more than likely Carrier equipment that's on top of those buildings, cooling, your shopping malls, your strip malls, things like that. We also have a big play in with our light commercial.
So I would argue, maybe just to add to that, Ryan, is that if you're on an airplane and you look down, that's essentially the opportunity, right? Those are most likely, to some extent, Carrier customers carrying one of our brands. So it just shows the impact that Carrier has, at least in the world globally, certainly in the United States, and as markets mature in other countries as well.
It shows you. Good point. And then from an overview perspective, so last year we did around $22.5 billion in net sales. We operate over in 160 countries. Like I was in Africa, like South Africa several years ago, and I saw Carrier equipment over there. We have like a whole like Teams channel dedicated to like people seeing Carrier equipment in the wild. And some people have some like crazy things that they've seen. So we do operate globally. Again, over 35 brands. We're nearing 50,000 employees. And then in 2024, we launched over 80 products.
Maybe as a fun fact, the Sistine Chapel in Italy is cooled by Carrier equipment. So that's just a cool fun fact.
Yes, very good fun fact. All right, and then from like a products and solutions company, so you kind of saw an overview of the brands, kind of like, conceptually, where do we play? The first, kind of the biggest one is Climate Solutions. So this is like your residential home equipment or your big commercial equipment. That's what we service, we control. we manage. And then on top of that, we have this building automation. So a lot of what you'll hear from Rosia and Amen are around kind of enabling those. Again, the data there, but building automation is another big kind of area we play. So that's energy reporting, dashboards, and remote monitoring. And then the other kind of big area we play is around climate solutions transportation. And this is your connected cold chain. So I'm sure you guys have been on interstate, you've seen these big semis. This are the refrigeration units on these trailers of these semis. So more than likely, it's only probably gonna be two in the United States. It's either carrier equipment or it's, I forgot, now I'm blanking on what train it is.
Something.
Yeah. So more than likely, there's carrier equipment on these semi-trailers. And from there, we have telematic solutions that monitor these assets, monitor how cool the temperature of these trailers are, keeping them within set points. So we do a lot around cold chain monitoring for cargo's fleets. And then kind of just to double click on each. So again, commercial climate solutions. These are the big equipment within these multi-level storied buildings. These are massive equipments. Residential, these are your HVAC units outside your home. I'm sure many of you, if you own a home or your parents, have had people come out there and service those. So we also have those. And then lastly, climate solution transportation. So either on cargo, like on these big shipping containers, or on the road on semi trucks. That's kind of climate solutions transportation. But those are the kind of three big areas that Carrier has when it comes to segments. And then lastly, digital. So this is like kind of our IT, intelligence, analytics, automation. Like this is a segment, and how we refer to this kind of function is digital. So digital, it's really about creating new and exciting answers to what we've already solved, and really designing digitally enabled solutions and services within our product lifecycle that are really going to proactively enhance our products and our consumers, our customers, and then advance our regulatory commitments, especially around emissions. So kind of two flagship products within digital that many of us have, the three Carrier speakers here, directly, indirectly work for or work on. One is Abound. This is all around a connected lifecycle solution that's really providing visibility into our building assets, and with all in mind of like energy efficiency, occupant comfort, productivity, compliance reporting, things like that. So Abound's really within our commercial segment, and then Lynx Fleet or Lynx is kind of around our cold chain offering. And then this is just really an advanced analytics solution to provide visibility, connectivity, and actionable intelligence across our cold chain operations. So these are kind of our two flagship, I would say, digital products and services we offer on top of our equipment sales. All right. Do we pause for Q&A or do we keep going?
I would keep going.
Okay. All right. So another role I have is I'm the functional lead for what we call the Digital Technology Leadership Program, or I call it the DTLP for short. So the DTLP is an early careers program around underneath digital technology, that function. And our vision is to be the world-class digital leader in delivering intelligent, connected experiences that contribute to a more sustainable future for our people and our planet. And digital, just give you some numbers. We have over 1,000 people worldwide that work on a variety of things: infrastructure, analytics, the things that keep a company moving, or more of the digital product side. And we do have leverage a hub-based system. So a lot of our employees are either in India, China, or Mexico. So we do operate, we're a global company, so we have global hubs when it comes to digital. And then agile, that's just another key thing. We're advancing our modern skills day in, day out. As you guys know, the world of technology is rapidly moving. So I believe digital does a really good job of keeping up to the latest trends. And I'll kind of show you how, we do that for early careers folks. So early careers, I don't know how much you guys have dug into this or what these rotational programs are, but I'll kind of give you the perspective from Carrier. And I feel like a lot of the majority of the companies, kind of offer the same format, but I do believe Carrier sticks out in many ways. So when it comes to like development and what we believe in early careers, one big thing is like experiential learning. We really want folks, who have acquired these skills in school to apply them, be curious, take risk. So we do really push hands-on experiences, and that's through your roles, kind of your sub functions and the locations that you're in. Another big pillar for us is your leadership development. So we really want to teach you how to lead through the goals you set, with the projects you lead, or even working cross-functionally with people. And we put a big emphasis on this. We want to expand your scope and responsibilities to really make you feel stretched and feel like you're coming away with something when it comes to leadership. And then lastly, engagement. So over on the right, you can see that Carrier offers a number of different leadership programs. You have operations, the folks in the factory, engineering, a lot of the folks building our products, the physical products, digital, which I'll talk about today, finance, marketing, human resources. So the engagement and the part of being part of a kind of a massive cohort of 60, 70 people across several different programs and different backgrounds, it's a really unique opportunity to kind of have that. A lot of times you're thrown into a role right out of college, you don't know anybody. With this, you're kind of, have 70 friends in a sense. So I think that's one of the really cool things about these early careers is, you get to meet a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds. So just to give you a little bit more in depth, here's kind of the 6 different leadership programs we offer. I'll go in more in depth on the leadership program here, but it's a 2-year program consisting of 8-month rotations. And then we do offer a variety of different roles within a lot of different functions. Throughout Carrier, kind of the global, Carrier's a global program or a global company. So that also means our leadership programs are global. So another cool opportunity about Carrier's leadership programs, especially at DTLP, you have the opportunity to collaborate cross-culturally. So we collaborate a lot with our India-based colleagues over there on projects. So that's a cool, unique experience that, maybe your company is only located in the United States, but with Carrier, we are a global company and we do consider our early careers also global. So there's a lot of opportunities for cross-cultural collaboration. And then just to kind of a one-pager on what the DTLP is for Carrier. Really, our mission is to provide, you frontline, hands-on, meaningful assignments that are really designed to stretch your capabilities and really accelerate your development. So what I mean by that is how I've always been told and how I've always communicated and how I feel is the 2 years in this program is like 4 to 5 years of experience. You're really stretched that much and you're expected to kind of deliver that much. So it is a development program. So we do put a big emphasis on getting you ramped up and acquiring those skills. But you kind of think of it, you can get 4 to 5 years of experience out of these 2 years. And then our objectives, kind of the 3 big ones, again, facilitate that dynamic high growth opportunities. So we want to put you on projects that are not only going to stretch you, but also deliver value for Carrier. So we're not going to put you on some pusher paper work. We're going to put you on some meaningful stuff that moves the needle for Carrier. And then the number 2 big objective for us is we want to develop you. We want to give you the modern skills that are required for any organization's digital transformation. So we give certifications for AWS. We put you through Agile, Scrum, those types of certs. Just the more foundational things that you're going to need no matter what type of role you're in. And then third and lastly, the final objective is to really build that community through the global engagement. Like I said beforehand, we have colleagues in India, there's folks in Europe, Asia. So really having the opportunity internationally as well as domestically here in the United States to work on those cross-functional and collaborative projects across our organization. And then what we offer for rotations, we do offer roles throughout our entire operating model. So climate solutions, you're more on the BU side, as well as cold chain solutions. But we do offer roles that are like PM focused. That's kind of a track, and then another track is more of a technical focused track, where you are working with carrier intelligence that you'll hear about, or cybersecurity, or you look at some of these more digital products and designs. You could get more on the technical side of those and implementing AI. So there's a lot of different roles, more than enough work that needs to get done, and having highly skilled folks like those in the DTLP are a great, set of people to go kind of fill those gaps for us. And then quickly, some logistics in case you're wondering how things work. So, like I said, each rotation is 8 months, consisting of 2 years. And how we kind of select placements. So you're probably wondering, I come in, all right, I do one role. What's my next role? Blah, blah. So how we kind of decide where folks go is pretty simple. We just understand what the business needs are. What teams have projects going on? Where does a DTLP best fit? What's their skill set? How can they get the most out of their experience? So we look at the business needs as well as your interests and your preferences. So I would hate to throw anybody in a situation that they don't enjoy or they're not getting anything out of it. So we do take in your interests and your preferences. Maybe you want to do something more technical. Maybe you want to work on this one project. We'll do our best to give you that experience. And then lastly, I keep saying experience because it is about the experience. How are you going to best, coming out of your 2 years, what do you want to get out of it? So we look at that and we try to, kind of gamify in a sense, how to get the most out of it for you and for carrier. And then we take all those 3 inputs and then we do a matching process, a lot of back and forth, and then kind of the output is our final placement. And then hopefully, you're off rolling for another 8 months there. And then kind of like a career path, I joined a program like this. What am I going to get out of it? This is really a 2-year leadership development program that's really designed to accelerate your early career. So you can kind of think of it in, 1, 2, 3, 5+ years. So the first 2 years are just, in the DTLP. Your first year is a lot about learning, exploring, gaining that exposure to things. Like I always jokingly say, it took me like 6 months to figure out what the heck we do. And it does, entering a new company right after graduation, internships only do so much. You don't get a lot of that cross-functional visibility. So just conceptually understanding what the business does takes a while. But first year is really getting you, confident with working across teams. And then your second year is really designed to stretch your scope and responsibility. So that means taking ownership, delivering measurable outcomes, and then strengthening your leadership presence. I think these 2 years are critical. Like a networking is a big thing. Knowing leaders, seeing what leaders do, asking them questions is a great opportunity to expand your network as to the program. And then after your 2 years, there's a thing called what we call off placement. That's the point where you move into a full-time role with the business. And this is where you apply what you learned throughout your 2 years to accelerate your team's performance. And you're expected to continue to grow, to mentor, to coach, to continue to take on stretch assignments right off placement. I see someone else 2 years in corporate that didn't go through a program versus someone in this program. The scope of responsibilities are way different, in my opinion. Folks who off place are expected to do a lot for the business and drive results. So it's a meaningful experience right off of the program. And then ideally, what everybody wants is to become a future leader. So 5+ years, someone should be progressing into a role with more scope, impact, visibility. They should be expected to lead and shape carrier's digital future, and then leverage the relationships they've built throughout those 5+ years to drive those cross-functional outcomes. So I forgot to add a slide here about like a QR code to apply to the DTLP, but that's kind of it for what I had and with what carrier. I will be sure to add a link to our job rec for those who want to apply, and then you can list me as a referral or something like that, but I will add a link here. And I think other than that, I will hand it off to Josiel.
So thanks, Ryan, for walking us through what the DTLP program is and what Carrier does. I am also an alumni of the DTLP program, so I couldn't be any bigger of an advocate for the program. Similar to what Ryan said, you compare someone who's off place versus someone who sort of landed in the role, and it's sort of night and day from a responsibilities perspective, to be honest. With that being the case, Ayman and I are going to dive a little bit deeper into the Carrier Intelligence Organization, or CI, right? So a lot of acronyms here: CI, COE. So essentially what the team is just team within the organization, and our job is to be able to turn data into actionable intelligence. Okay, how do we go from getting raw data and delivering some desired outcome at the end? And we want to be able to do this in an advanced manner that also supports trust and the reduction of technical debt. As you imagine, especially with AI, we need to be able to make sure that the technology is trusted. In addition, due to the fact in the marketplace where Carrier plays in, which is, buildings, your health is impacted, we want to be able to make sure that we continue to have that trust. And aside from the AI team, Carrier does have a fairly robust cyber security team, and it's sort of embedded within the culture in the company. On the right-hand side here, you're going to see essentially this flywheel, and there's 4 major components that I can break up the Carrier Intelligence team here at Carrier. One is we have a platform team that's specific and specialized within on the data side of things. Then we have a team that's focused on the AI platform and being able to support all of our deployments and be able to bring on new tools for everyone to use. Then there is a delivery team, which is where I sit in as a data scientist, and the ML ops side. So what happens to, ML ops or LLM ops at this point? What happens to the delivery? Is it working and still working as expected after you do your job on from delivering for the stakeholder? Next slide. So just to be able to break down a little bit more, the Carrier Intelligence team, there's a lot on this slide I'll walk us through. So the purpose of the team is to enable specific capabilities within the organization, and it's broken up into three different silos of sort. There is a product-specific focus, a platform-specific focus, and services. When it comes to the product side of things, we want to be able to make sure that we're leveraging solutions or tools that cover the end-to-end process. Secondly, being able to leverage specific AI products. So in this case, we use Dataiku. At Carrier, we are a multi-cloud organization. Regardless of the cloud that we're using, we want to be able to make sure that we're delivering in a way that scales within the business, regardless of who our stakeholder is. This takes into account the algorithms, the APIs that we may have to be able to use, the storage of the data that we need to be able to store information in, and eventually a data marketplace. So Ayman's going to speak to this a little bit more a little bit later, but one of the key things that we're looking to be able to do, Carrier's over 100 years old, is start organizing our data a little bit better as the company essentially morphs every single couple years. And being able to provide specific curated data sets allows us to do that, to treat them as data products. On the platform side, right, to be able to move quickly, there are specific AI platforms that were procured, specifically Dataiku, not only to be able to let me do my job, but to be able to enable your everyday person sitting in a different function to be, if they have an idea, being able to have a Dataiku license and build something within the platform. It's pretty good for beginner or advanced use cases. But then again, Dataiku is sitting in the middle of all of the services that are offered by the cloud providers, or the hyperscalers in this case. The analytics platform. So being able to make sure that we allow us to create predictions or whatever that we're trying to solve for the customers and be able to display it in a particular manner that scales. And the data platform, start building a little bit more intelligence from just a random database table that's sitting in somewhere in Snowflake, right? How do we take advantage of that information a little bit more intelligently? And services. So at Carrier, as you imagine, as a 100-year-old company, there's nothing more important than being able to make sure we can access all of our data in every which form, right? New applications have new ways of doing things. We still have customers who like to send in an order via email, right? In addition, being able to receive and manage data in many different ways, and that's essentially the data integration piece. And eventually being able to take intelligence or data that comes from one platform or application to another. A little bit there here at the bottom, some of the tools that we use within Carrier Intelligence is Snowflake, where that's essentially the storage of the data. I think most people are familiar with it. Then we have something called Iceberg. It's essentially a new form to be able to store data in a bit more of a scalable manner. Then we have Superblocks here. This is an interesting tool. In order for us to build and showcase our demos to our stakeholders, we don't really want to be building an application from scratch every single time, and this is where Superblocks comes in. Dell Boomi, again, it's just a data orchestrator that allows us to be able to integrate data anywhere where we want to collect it and to be able to store it. Dataiku, Power BI, and Amazon QuickSuite to be able to leverage a lot of the Gen AI or machine learning that typically happens. We can go to the next slide. All right, now hand it off over to Ayman.
Thank you, Josel. Thank you, Ryan. I learned a lot from your presentation about Carrier. Thank you. So, okay. I will explain in a few slides what is the CI team, what is the end product, and how we can use it, and how we can use this end product for AI and analytics, and how we can serve it, and how we can prepare it, in trying to explain it in very simple way. Next slide, please. And the end product on Carrier Analytics is the data product. And for us in Carrier, as we are driving and making Carrier a native AI and data enterprise, the data for us is no longer a byproduct or operation. It's strategic asset. So treating data as a product and establishing strong data organization enable Carrier to deliver consistent and scalable innovation across all the enterprise. And why exactly we go to prepare the data product? Because it helps us for reusable and trust asset and reduce the complexity, especially Carrier, as Ryan mentioned, it's across the globe. Like we have more than 55 ERP system. So how we can consolidate all this data in centralized platform where we can serve it for analytics and visibility and can have visibility across the globe. So this is why our main purpose for having the data product. Next, please. I will try to explain here what is the data product and how we can prepare it. So I believe like most of you already know how to prepare BLT, like whether in the campus or at home. So the data product layer organizes data into progressive trust zone. So if you can see in the foundation is the raw data where there is end process straight from the source, and like you have ingredient from the farm, fresh tomato, meat, milk, bakery. And there is a next level here is what we call is the PADP, the produce aligned data product. We need to have standardized data. In Carrier, we use Microsoft MS CDM, and there it's think of peeling and cleaning those gradient and remove like cleaning the data basically. And the next step here is the DADP, the domain aligned data product, where it's like preparing a dish for a different cuisine where you already have your cheese, you have bread, and the meat is ready. And the last step is CADP, which is data. We serve the data to the AI, we serve the data to the business, we serve the data for analytics, for leadership, and you can serve your sandwich here. Next slide, please. As you need to prepare your sandwich or BLT, you need to have a kitchen. And this is Career Kitchen. This is the platform. This is the platform where the end product we are building from the source. You see the data source. We are using, as I have mentioned, we have a big technology. We have ERPs, we have CRMs, we have Fly, SharePoint, and this is the raw data. And they are using for extraction for this data. We're using multiple technology like Qlik, Boomi, Python directly, Snowflake, ETL as AWS Glue, and we have the middle with the block where we prepare the data. We prepare the raw data, we store the data, we archive the data, and we prepare the end product, which is given to analytics, AI, to the business, other application to consume. Our customer also, because Career have multiple customer in US, and around the globe. So we need to have a way for communication, way for securing our data, to having standard and be able to have the end-to-end business to business and even other application as business with governments. There is much like this is what we have a data marketplace. For example, our customer go to our data marketplace. They would like to see our product. You just log there and they see all the product consolidated with the data. We are serving them with these products. The next slide, please. And this is real use cases, a project which I have done for Insight Hub, where we have ERP system, where the requirements come. Hey guys, it's very complicated to read the data from the ERP. The data is so complicated and it's so technical. How we can have a dashboard to see the price and the net margin and the gross sales and the open orders in one dashboard. And this is how we use our kitchen and our way how to prepare the data. And we have standardized the process, which we made it in place. And in the end, we replicate the data using Qlik and also normalizing the data and serve the data, prepare it where in this case you have a Power BI, a dashboard when you can see everything in human readable way, where you can have across visibility about our net sales and net sale margin around the globe. Okay, that's it.
Awesome. I mean, you're getting me hungry. All right, so I'll go ahead and talk a little bit more about the AI innovation team within our delivery segment in CI. And we'll go ahead and get started. Next slide, Ryan. All right, so there's a lot of different technologies that we use within CI, and it's your traditional machine learning or sort of the generative AI buzz that's going on now. And just walking through it, so allowing us to be able to, within the team, we apply forecasting technologies to be able to just look ahead and be able to understand what is it that we're trying to predict based off of our target variable. Then we have a few other technologies, regression and classification, which is for the most part pretty standard for most people. And these applications and use cases exist everywhere, down to clustering and specifically anomaly detection if we're trying to identify something that's abnormal. Then at the bottom side here, the bottom half, we have RAG, agentic chatbots, and document parsing. Just a little bit of the basic to a little bit more advanced use cases within Carrier with respect to Gen AI. If we go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about some requirements that are needed. Looks like one of my things didn't load properly, but that's okay. Go, but you can stay there, Ryan. So when it comes to understanding day in, day out, what is it that we need to be able to do? It all starts by understanding the customer's problem. What is it that they're trying to solve for? What kind of task is it that they need completed? What technology should we use to be able to deliver and solve their problems? And it all starts by understanding the technologies that the set of technologies, and that's just a small subset that I shared in the last slide. And then diving a little bit deeper into that from what is it that we should be optimizing for based off of the business problem. And then the very next question is, where is the data? As a data scientist, as a part of Data Week, all we care about is getting our hands access to the data. So we start talking about, at least within CI, data acquisition. And Iman sort of hinted at it a little bit earlier. What granularity is our data in? What kind of data do we have? Is it files? Is it a flat file? Is it PDF file? Is it an Excel, CSV, Parquet? Right? You have so many different ways that you can receive information. Then we have the ELT process: extract, load, transform. How do we get the data from its source over to whatever intermediary step that we may need it in? What is the quality of the data? Do we have any issues with the information? An example being, if you're working on a forecasting problem, right, you need to be able to make sure you have dates. That is the bare minimum. In addition, if you want to be able to forecast out in the future, you need the data to exist out into the future. This also includes getting data. I know our focus has been mostly at carrier systems, but also connecting to external data sets, whether this is Fred, whether this is some other APR that exists out externally, being able to do so as well. And of course, if we're trying to solve some form of a classification problem, how is the labeling, or even for Gen AI? Then we go into EDA, or exploratory data analysis. And here we're learning a little bit about what the data looks like from a data scientist perspective. What is the distribution of our data? Do we have any empty values? Do we have too many features, right? How do we start working through that with any dimensionality reduction techniques? We go into creating any additional useful features that we may have. This might be some form of feature cross technique, and then eventually the feature selection, right? If Iman's team is responsible for getting us a wonderful data set for data scientists to use, it doesn't help if we have 1,000 columns and we don't know what to pick and use, right? So there's a lot of techniques to be able to understand, and that's all based off of the algorithms that are used, the business problem that you're trying to solve for. As we start to work our way down to towards the bottom, we have modeling. What is the right algorithm that you're going to select? Depending on the problem that you're trying to solve for, you need to be able to make sure that you're building towards something that's a bit explainable, right? It's not a black box. I can't provide some forecast to the business and then the first question they ask me is, why did X go up? And I have no explanation, right? So understanding that what you're building goes a long way. Then we start talking about data availability, right? I can't forecast something into the future if I don't have some form of future values to predict with. And then a little bit on the LLM side, of course, you got the prompt engineering and few-shot prompting and the various techniques that are being used today. After you build your model, cool. How do you know it's good? And this is when you get into the evaluation phase. You can use Shapley indices. You can compare against some other baseline if you're improving upon a specific solution. And of course, being able to take a look at the metrics. And then operationalization. What is your drift? What's your prediction drift? What's your data drift? Is your data changing over time, requiring you to build a new model, right? There's a lot of other things to take into consideration here. And of course, on the LLM side, hallucinations. How often are you having hallucinations? Is the business okay with the hallucinations and the risk that it proposes when compared against the benefits? The next slide. All right, so building off of that, this is probably a busy slide, but what I want to be able to showcase is, given the technologies and some of the effort and work that's been done within CI, we're talking about forecasting. Right now, the craze within the team is market demand, right? How do we predict the market demand within carrier? Not just Carrier, but within Carrier for the HVAC market, that requires us to be able to use the forecasting algorithms that are available, connecting to external data sets that allow us to be able to do that. If we start to focus a little bit more specific, digging down a little bit deeper, our SIOP process. That's, I believe, sales, inventory, operations, and planning. Based off of the market demand, how can we start building manufacturing plans based off of the market that we expect Carrier to take on? How do we know, leading into a year, how many products Carrier has to build and for what, and what components it needs to order? Building off of Ryan a little bit here with Abound, indoor air quality, IAQ. So there was a effort a while ago being able to take a lot of that telemetry data that's coming off those sensors that are installed in buildings, whether it's for occupancy, whether it's for temperature, carbon dioxide, radon, any kind of risk to comfortability, and being able to forecast out those values based off of our understanding of the current environment. You'd be surprised how much carbon dioxide fills up a room if you have a lot of people within a small space. You'd be surprised at some of the effects as having a hand sanitizer near you in a closed space. Right? And this all connects, of course, to the HVAC system and filtering of the air. We then focus on regression. So how can I go ahead, predict out a specific price for something that we're trying to sell? Anomaly detection, right? So one of the efforts, of course, that I don't know if it's connected directly to Ryan, but Ryan plays some form of part that allows us to do this, is being able to connect to our chillers, right? It's, for a lack of a better term, an edge device is installed on a chiller. It's going to collect data. It's great that you're collecting the data, but how can we predict that chiller is going to break, or when is it going to break? When does it require service? In some more mission critical business segments, such as the transportation of bananas, right, over the Atlantic Ocean in this case, how can we make sure that the bananas aren't going to spoil? How do we make sure that the air conditioning unit that's on those containers isn't going to break down mid-route? Right, and you can sort of extrapolate that example out a little bit further with medication, vaccinations, and the like. Or my favorite example is in the light commercial space. If you own an ice cream shop, right, it doesn't really do you any favors if your air conditioning or refrigeration unit's not working. You're going to lose a lot of product, right? So being able to identify any issues from the operating perspective is critical so that we can make sure that we're being proactive and not reactive for our customers. All right, on the classification side, on the right-hand side, this one's pretty interesting and cool. So Carrier, for the most part, is a B2B business. We sell directly to our distributors. And in this case, they'll send us a quote to be able to buy some of our products. You can apply a classification algorithm as the quote comes in and have some form of idea whether or not this is typically a price that Carrier would be able to make a sale in or not. And then if we were to counter offer essentially a price that Carrier would like to then sell the product for, whether we think that's a winning or losing quote. And it's very specific to the customer, the region, a lot of other important parameters there. On the clustering side of things, this is actually a new one that we have coming up pretty soon. So as you imagine, Carrier is a global company. We have manufacturing plants in many different countries. We have many acquisitions, divestitures, and whatnot. And as the engineers design new products, and we have, as far as I'm aware, some of the best products out there in the industry, you start to have a long tail of different parts that people are using. You run into a situation where you have a lot of small different parts that maybe do one or two things differently. And what the problem with that is, it creates a lot of complexity. If an engineer is trying to build a specific product and they want to understand what part to use, you have too many options. We're trying to apply clustering on top of that information to be able to essentially go to the business and say, hey, essentially you have these, 20 parts. There's maybe one thing that's different between them, and you can sort of consolidate and start benefiting from volume-based discounting for suppliers when we're ordering products. On the generative AI side, we had a pretty cool project with the onboarding of customers with Abound, right? So there's this thing called brick ontology mapping, and essentially you have a blueprint of a building, and being able to map that building onto the platform is a complicated process. It takes a person to be able to do that. We've been able to apply some Gen AI there that understands the brick mapping logic and the process that the person whose job is to be able to map the data with the building, and make that a little bit easier and faster. It would take a long time to be able to do that process. One of my favorites here is document parsing. So this is using something called a visual language model. So again, on our Global Parts Library project, we have these complex CAD drawings. You and I look at it and we don't even know what we're looking at. And it's basically mechanical engineers who know what they're looking at. Problem is, mechanical engineers are busy. We were able to apply some, in this case, Gemini, to a lot of our CAD drawings, be able to extract specific data, not only from the CAD drawing itself, and of course the document describing the part, and being able to create a completely new data set that allows us to be able to filter and understand what parts we have available. If we have a particular motor, we have a lot of different metadata that describes that motor, and say, for example, its enclosure and whatnot. Many different use cases go into, from a legal perspective, identifying risky or missing clauses within agreements. And on the warranty side, being able to receive an intake from a customer for a warranty claim. Right now, that's a fairly, manual effort, and being able to automate a lot of that with AI. And again, I mentioned, 100-year-old company, we receive orders in many different ways. Like I mentioned earlier, we receive some in emails when you can just, some customers just don't like Amazon, like an Amazon style or Shopify style commerce. So they'll just send in an email. We still want that business. So being able to build something that automates the information and the order that we receive from the customer, regardless of how we get it, and being able to fulfill it. Next slide. So I couldn't show an example, of course, because I have to be sensitive with the information, but just to be able to provide a little bit of a visual of an example use case. So I just found some random CAD drawing from Google. And the whole idea is we're receiving this type of a document, and the only person who knows how to read it is an SME, in this case, a mechanical engineer. How do we extract a lot of information from these documents that's important for designers, engineers, and mechanical engineers? We essentially use, the Gemini models to be able to understand what it's looking at, developing a really robust prompt, performing a lot of prompt engineering, few-shot prompting techniques to be able to make sure that we get the outcome that we desire. Some of the importance when it comes to using Gen AI is the productivity gains for the most part. In this case, it would take 30 minutes for a mechanical engineer to collect a set of like 30 or 40 attributes about the part. In this case, now we're able to do it in 1 minute. So you sort of remove the reliance of a mechanical engineer, in this case, to focus on a little bit more important tasks and be able to collect a lot of that data. Then from a scalability perspective, again, a global company, we have documents in Mandarin, French, Spanish, English. The technology does adapt to all of the different types of languages. In addition, maybe, in lieu of the productivity gains, we also have the ability to just send in 100 documents, right? We build once, we're able to process many different documents at the same time. And then repeatability, right? So there are so many different applications that you can apply this sort of visual language model technology. It's essentially the multimodal models that exist on all of the hyperscalers. And how can we start using that information to remove data silos, extract additional metadata, and then being able to start taking it to the next level and handling more complicated cases. So some of these things were used to be very complicated before with older technologies, and now it's becoming a little bit easier as we start to adapt with AI. And the CI team in particular is no exception. We are, for the most part, pretty much on the forefront on anything new that comes out and its applications within the business. And that should just about wrap it up. I guess, Emily, will go from here on what the next phase is.
Yeah. Okay. First, I'm just going to do a quick thank you about that presentation to everyone who is on that. I really appreciate the level of care that you took to introduce us to your organization. The thoughtful examples, like giving us a bird's eye view of where you sit globally, giving us a breakdown of your teams, providing really thoughtful case studies. Like, round of applause. I really appreciate everything that you just shared with everyone, and I want to say that up front. So I'm going to end our recording now. Goodbye, people of the recording.